Gideon's Fleece. We've taken the story of Gideon and put it into two parts. In this Insights, I want to start by talking about the people groups that are involved right here. 3 different nationalities moved into the land at the same time. First of all, there were the Midianites. They were the main ones. They were descendants of Abraham and his wife Keturah. Together they had 6 children. Midian was the 4th one. Before Abraham died, he sent Keturah and the 6 boys out east into Saudi Arabia. When Moses ran away from Egypt, he went to this area and went and lived among the Midianites and married his wife there. Also, when they were about to come into Israel, before Joshua took them across the Jordan River, the Midianites attacked along with Moab and suffered a great defeat. This is the same group of people who years later now are invading the land. With them are the Amalekites. You remember the Amalekites because when Moses took the children of Israel out of Egypt, real short after that, the Amalekites attacked them and tried to destroy them. That's when Moses had his hands held up in the air and Joshua was able to win the battle. Years later, God told King Saul to go and destroy these people, and he didn't quite do it. Matter of fact, it's often believed that Haman in the book of Esther was a descendant of the Amalekites. The third group of people, it just says the people from the east. This is usually thought to be the Arabians. The Midianites eventually joined in with those people and became one. Now it's interesting that Midian was descendants of Keturah and Abraham. The Amalekites were descendants of Esau. The Arabians were descendants of Ishmael. So you have all 3 of them coming together for this big battle. They didn't come to conquer. They didn't come to take over the land and to live there. No. They only came to plunder. They were nomads, and they didn't want to stay in the land. They just came to take they were described like locusts, came in and devoured everything and then left. Most people who conquer a land, they will tax the people and they will take from the people and they will enslave them in many ways, but they still want them to live. They want them to still be there. They want a constant source of income out of these people. So in a sense, they give them enough. Not these people. They came in just to get everything they could and were not concerned at all if the people could live after they were gone. Consequently, the Israelites went up into the hills and in the caves and tried to hide. That's why when you have Gideon, he's actually down in a wine vat threshing wheat. Wheat is usually threshed on a threshing floor that's up high with plenty of wind where you separate the wheat from the chaff. But no. He was down in a wine press, which is usually down in a hole in the ground. He was fearful for his life. Well, an angel of the Lord appears to Gideon. Generally speaking, many of us believe that this was an Old Testament appearance of Jesus himself. And he appeared and called Gideon. Often laugh at that, oh mighty warrior of God. Like Gideon said, and who are you talking to? He was not a fearless warrior. He tells him to take care of the idols in his hometown. Interesting. You may wonder, well, what does that have to do with the Midianites? It was the first step. It was what he needed to do first. Reminded me that when I went to our pastor as a young man and said I wanted to go to a Christian college and prepare for some type of ministry, first thing he said was, you need to go to summer camp. Summer camp? What does that have to do with going to a Christian college? Very little, except it's a first step. Christian college is a long ways off. That's something that I was going to do in the future. He wanted me to do something now. He wanted an action right now. And that was the right thing to do. And that's what God was doing here. He was giving him an action in his hometown with an idol that was right there. Now, to destroy that idol, often in those communities, the idol was a part of the culture of that community, a part of their government, a part of who they were. And to destroy the idol was like treason. It was a very harsh thing to do, and God knew that this would get Gideon into battle right off the bat and prepare him. It says that the Midianites came to the Jezreel Valley. Well, of course they did. That's one of the breadbaskets of Israel. It's a very fertile valley. And when we give our next insights, we'll talk more about this valley. But they just filled up the valley, just taking everything they could. And that's where the battle happens. Gideon calls for the northern tribes of Israel. The southern tribes weren't really affected by this, and for good reason. Their agriculture was not nearly as good as up in the north. And so he calls in the northern tribes to come and help fight this battle. And that's when, as they're in the process of coming, that Gideon has the famous putting out the fleece. And we hear that expression, well, I put out a fleece before the Lord. You have to understand that Gideon was full of fear and doubt. I mean, all the way through, he's testing God. And so putting out the fleece was not an extremely spiritual thing to do. It showed his fear and his doubt. God had to just constantly keep prodding him along and moving him along to get him to the goal. Still, I understand it. I understand that when God calls you to do something that's far beyond what you're able to do, that there is fear and doubt, and sometimes we do put out the fleece. And God doesn't always honor it. But in this case, he did. I imagine when all this was over, Gideon was just happy to have it over. He went back home. He didn't want to have anything else to do with anything. They wanted to try to make him king. He absolutely had nothing. He just had none of it. He was glad it was over. And I have a feeling God was glad it was over too. I think he was probably tired of dealing with Gideon. Still a great man who did a great thing for God. Come back when we give you more insights on the story.